بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد الصادق الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين وبعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we are gathered here once again virtually studying the work Matharatul Qulub, the purification of the hearts, by Al-Imam Muhammad Mawlud Al-Yaqubi rahmatullahi alayh. And today, inshallah, we're going to look at the disease of Baghi, of iniquity. We mentioned a couple of times how the Imam arranged the diseases of the heart in alphabetical order. And so he started with stinginess, miserliness, bukhl, and then spoke about batar, and then bughd, hatred, and batar as in this wantonness. And today, inshallah, we're going to talk about Baghi. And Baghi in Arabic means transgression, or it can mean iniquity. So we're going to read about the disease of iniquity, its definition, where it comes from, how to treat it, and so on. The Imam begins by saying, وَالْبَغْيُ قَالَ فِيهِ فَتْحُ الْحَقِّ إِذَايَةُ الْخَلْقِ بِغَيْرِ حَقِّ. Iniquity, according to the book, the opening of the truth, it is defined as harming a fellow creature without right. Baghi is to transgress against other people. And here, Sheikh Muhammad Mawlud mentions the definition of another scholar, the author of a book called Fathul Haqq. And this is a book written by another Mauritanian scholar by the name of Muhammadan Fal al-Mutadi. And in that book, the author describes Baghi as transgressing or harming the rights of another person without haqq, without a shari legal right. Linguistically, Baghi means to desire something. You say, Ana abaghi هذا الشيء, I desire that thing. Baghi linguistically means desire. And in this context, Baghi as a disease is to desire something so strongly that you're willing to transgress and violate the rights of other human beings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that this strong desire that results in us transgressing against other people only results in harm to ourselves. Ultimately, we're the ones who suffer harm as a result of this iniquity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O people, O humanity, إِنَّمَا بَغْيُكُمْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ. Your iniquity will only harm yourself. Your transgressions will only harm your own selves. You're the ones who will suffer as a result of this baghi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in so many places in the Quran that He does not love the dhalimun, the people who oppress other people. And one of the spiritual teachers in Morocco who would write extensively about this issue, Sheikh Muhammad al-Qandusi rahmatullahi alayh, he mentioned one time his own personal judgment on this matter. He said, a lot of scholars say that the greatest sin is to neglect the 5 daily prayers. But I say that the greatest sin is to oppress other people, because the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in the 5 daily prayers. That is Allah's haqq. And if someone does not fulfill the haqq of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is His will. If He wishes to forgive that person, He can forgive that person. But when it concerns the rights of other human beings, the presumption is that that person has not forgiven unless we seek forgiveness. And the rights of other human beings are going to cause far more difficulty and problems for people on the Day of Judgment than their own transgressions between them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All of these things are haram. All of them should be forsaken and abandoned. But when we look at the rights of Allah, we say al-aslu, the foundation concerning the rights of Allah is that He forgives those who seek forgiveness, that He forgives and pardons. But we can't presume that with regards to the rights of other human beings. So this is a serious disease of the heart, this Baghi, because it results in us seeking to transgress and violate the rights of other human beings. Imam Muhammad Mawlud, he says here that it is transgressing against others بِغَيْرِ حَقٍّ, without there being a right. And what this means is there are situations where a person can be harmed by another, and it's not a transgression in the sense that it is without right, rather it is with haqq, is with a right. And that is in the case of someone commanding the good and forbidding the evil forcibly, if they have that kind of authority in a society, or if they are speaking harshly with someone who's doing wrong. This is a kind of transgression in that there's a harshness involved, but it is bihaq, it's with a right to call out the haram, to call out the evil, and to command the good, and so on. He goes on to say, مدامها القرقف حبور منزلا فاذكر إن أردت أن تخللا كم من أمير نال منها آملا ثم استوى الساجد والمسجود له. Its cause, the cause of this transgression, this iniquity, is the intoxicating wine of hubbul manzila, love of worldly position, love of status. So remember this if you wish to turn this intoxicant into a useful vinegar. We know that the process is when something ferments and turns into an alcohol, over time, if left alone, it will turn into a vinegar. So he mentions that the cause of iniquity, transgressing against the rights of others, is stemming from hubbul manzila, the love of position, the love of worldly status. And he says that it is caused by this intoxicating wine. He uses the word qurquf, which is an ancient Arabic word for a very strong intoxicating wine. So the cause of this is hubbul ja wa riyasa, or hubbul manzila. There are different terms used by the scholars. They say hubbul riyasa, which is the love of leadership, or hubbul ja, the love of status, or hubbul manzila, the love of position. These are all near synonyms. They're nearly identical to one another. And this is a love of status and position in the hearts of others, vying with others to have position and influence and power. And here the Imam asks us to reflect on the reality of this. He says that this being the cause of iniquity, this love of position in the world, he says you have to remember that's the origin if you wish to turn that intoxicating wine into a vinegar. Intoxicating wine is haram. However, if a substance ferments and continues to ferment until it transforms into a vinegar, the vinegar would be allowed. He says, how many a leader achieved his heart's desire of rank and position, yet in the end, the devotee and his object of devotion were leveled to equal planes by death. He's asking us here to reflect on the end result of those who vie for worldly status. He says that the subject and the object are both leveled on the equal plane of death. He uses the word sajid wal masjud lahu, the prostrating person, the one who's making sajda, and the one who's receiving sajda, meaning the object and the subject of this devotion, both of them are leveled to an equal plane of death. Both of them will die, both of them will decay. This is the end result of both themselves and the one they transgress against, or those they seek to have position and power over. He says, further defining what this is, وَأَنَّهُ مَيْلٌ عَنِ الْمَوْلَى إِلَى عِبَادِهِ الْمُفْتَقِرِينَ الْبُخَلَى وَأَنَّ فِي رَعْيِ الْقُلُوبِ تَعَبَ إِن تُرْضِي بَعْضًا فَرَّ بَعْضٌ غَضَبًا. He says that this desire, it is turning away from your master, towards his impoverished servants who are miserly, his impoverished and miserly servants. Concern with the affections or pleasure of others is exhausting, and though you may please some, others will flee you filled with anger. So this is the root cause of transgression, according to Imam Muhammad Mawlud. Hubbul manzila, the love of status and position, to have power and influence and status in the hearts of people. And a person will seek that by any means necessary, even if they have to transgress against the rights of others. They will vie, they will fight, they will do all sorts of things to have that power and status in the eyes of people. He mentions this to tell us that it is ultimately ephemeral and fading. It doesn't last into the hereafter, and it turns you away from your master, your Mawla, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to focusing on His servants who are both poor and needy unto Allah and bukhala. They're miserly in themselves. They have nothing to give. And then He says that you're concerned with their pleasure, their satisfaction, and having status in their eyes is exhausting. It tires you out. And though you may please some, others will flee from you filled with anger. Seeking status is not from the baqiyat as-salihat. Seeking that position in the hearts of people is not from the enduring good deeds that will actually benefit us in the hereafter. It's not going to help us. One of the great Imams in our history, Imam Abdul Wahhab al-Sha'rani, rahmatullahi alayh, he was once speaking about this disease of love of status and position. And he said that if a person were to seek the esteem of his fellow human beings and work hard at having a position in their hearts to the point where he was universally loved, universally honored, this person will always feel stressed out, will always feel unease, because there will always be people who don't like him. This is the human reality, that if you strive to be liked and loved by all people all of the time, you will tire yourself out. You will seek the impossible. As Imam Shafi'i once said, رِضَى النَّاسِ غَايَةٌ لَا تُدْرَكْ, that the pleasure of people is an unattainable goal. If you seek to please all of the people all of the time, it's utterly impossible. So this idea that we have to please people all the time and have everyone universally like us will cause us to vie for status in the hearts of people, which will end up causing us to transgress against the rights of other people in various ways. That could be through seeking a position over them by bringing them down. It could be through envying them. It could be through behaving arrogantly. It could be through lying or trickery, as we'll see. Imam Muhammad Mawlud goes on to talk about the ways in which this may manifest and how it is manifested in a haram way versus a latent desire that doesn't come out in a haram way. He says, وَلَكِنْ الْحَرَامِ مِنْهُ مَا رُعِي بِخَدْعٍ أَوْ رِيَاءٍ أَوْ تَصَنُّعٍ. What is prohibited regarding the pleasure of others is what is acquired by way of trickery, display of religiosity, or pretentious show. So what he's telling us here is that seeking status from other people, seeking worldly position, it is blameworthy. However, though it is blameworthy, the haram forms of that blameworthy quality are when it is done through means of trickery, fake religiosity, and showing off. So he mentions these three as the haram forms of seeking status. The first one, trickery, is basically to pretend to have something that we don't have. What we say in North America, faking the funk. We call it faking the funk, faking piety, faking or pretending to be something that we're not. In some of our lands, in some of the Muslim majority lands, you see this with people who pretend to be sayyids, who have fake family trees, and they try to pass this off on people to say, I am a sayyid, I'm from the family of the Prophet ﷺ. And they do this in order to gain status in the eyes of others and to have that privilege in society. And they're faking it. This is one of the great sins to do that. Also, you see it sometimes in people who wear the garb of religious people. And I mean by that, there are certain cultural markers in different societies that mark people as being scholars. For example, if you go to Egypt, you'll see the Azhari robe and the Azhari turban and hat. That is a cultural marker in Egypt for someone who is a graduate of Al-Azhar University. If a person is not an actual graduate from Al-Azhar and they go around wearing this, what's going to happen? Well, they're seeking status in the eyes of people. They want people to recognize them as an Azhari, so they get that respect. And this also results in people going to them and asking religious questions. People will go to them and ask for fatwa, and of course they have to fake the funk. They have to keep the fraud up, and they may answer those questions and give the wrong answers. That is haram, because it is kalabisi thawb az-zur, like the one who was wearing a garment of false testimony about themselves. This is fraudulent. Likewise, as he says here, display of religiosity or pretentious show. So showing off to gain status in the eyes of others, this is a haram form of seeking worldly status. The other ways of seeking status may not be on that same level of prohibition, though they're all blameworthy. He says, وَمُبْتَغِي رِضَاهُمْ لَا يَنْتَظِرْ رِضَى الْمُسَوِّرِ الْعَزِيزِ الْمُقْتَدِرِ. He says that the seeker of their pleasure cannot expect the pleasure of Allah, the fashioner of creation, the mighty and the all-powerful, the capable. If you're reading from the Arabic text that I put in the WhatsApp group, the Arabic matan, there's a typo. It says رضا المصور. It should be مصور with a kasra. Just note that. Here Imam Muhammad Mawlud is saying that, again, the pleasure of people is an unattainable goal. And in addition to that, the one who is seeking the pleasure of people through these things turns away from their master, and they will not have the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they don't attain it in this life, and they displease Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and face the consequences of that in the next life. So seeking this status leads to people desiring, craving after position to the point where they will vie for status by transgressing against the rights of other people or transgressing against themselves. This is a disease of the heart that manifests outwardly in things people say or do. Because we think about Baghi, we may think about actions or statements. A person's transgressing against another individual by lying about them or backbiting them or insulting them or fighting them or trying to bring them down in some way to elevate themselves. This is Baghi manifested in statements and action. But that Baghi is manifesting outwardly, but its source, its root is found inwardly in the heart. And that Baghi is coming from a place of seeking worldly status, seeking to have a position in the hearts of people. Seeking to have that status is all blameworthy, but it has some haram manifestations and other manifestations that may not be haram, but they're still blameworthy. Now, Imam Muhammad Mawlud, after describing the meaning of Baghi and where it comes from and the haram form of seeking worldly status, he wants to give us the treatment. Do we see in ourselves a desire to have worldly status and status in the eyes of people that may cause us to do or say things that will elevate us and bring others down? If that's the case, we need to see what the treatment is to remove that disease from our heart. And so Imam Muhammad Mawlud says, ومن حباب أمه يرين بقلبه فطبه اليقين وجعله للموت نصب العين فهو صابون لهذا الرين. As for the cure, he says, as for the one whose heart is encrusted with love of this world, his only cure is having yaqeen. And yaqeen here means certainty, and here certainty of one's death, certainty of one's mortality. Thus, he says, if he keeps death constantly before his eyes, this acts as a cleanser for the soiled matter that is encrusting his heart. Now, if you were paying very close attention earlier, you have realized that Imam Muhammad Maulud gave us the medicine, the theoretical treatment at least, for the disease of seeking worldly status, with the understanding that seeking worldly status could stand alone as a disease of the heart, separate from Baghi. And so he gave us the theoretical treatment for love of status. And now, when it comes to the practical treatment, there is the treatment of reflecting on our mortality, of being aware of our inevitable death, that it can come at any time, and keeping that constantly before our eyes and remembering it often. As we spoke about yesterday, using the imaginative faculty to imagine that process of death and what happens to us, so that we realize it's not a distant reality, it is a near reality, and it is our inevitable journey's end as we leave this life. That will diminish our desire for worldly status, because it will bring us sharp awareness of the ephemerality and passing nature of this world in which we seek that status. There are other cures that are practical that he doesn't mention. One of them is developing the quality of khumul. And khumul in Arabic would be obscurity. To be that person who doesn't seek position. That when they come in the masjid, they're not the center of attention. They're not trying to make themselves the center of attention. They come and they pray, and people interact with them, but they're not seeking that position in the hearts of people. They live with relative obscurity. To develop that. And this is a treatment for love of manzila. If a person feels that in themselves, they should try to develop khumul by being quiet, not seeking position, not seeking to be the center of attention all the time. And this is an active exercise, and it will look different for different people depending on the level of severity of the disease of seeking status in the hearts of other people. So this is a disease, as just to recap what he says, Baghi can be transgression against the rights of others by the tongue and by the hand. And that is an external sin, but the root of it comes from a desire for status and position, of bringing those people down to elevate oneself. So we're going to see this again in a couple of days when we look at the disease of hasad, of envy, because envy in many ways manifests in the same way as an internal disease that manifests outwardly in different ways. Backbiting, for instance, is a sin of the tongue, but that could come from a disease in the heart of hasad. A lot of these diseases are intertwined with one another, and this is why, as we'll see later on, a lot of these diseases have a single point of origin. Some say that hasad itself is the point of origin for many of these diseases. Others say that it is having greed or covetousness, tama', this keenness to have what others have. And others say it is satisfaction with the ego. So there's different opinions among the ulama about the root cause of many of these diseases, but they're intertwined and they all go back to a few source illnesses of the heart. May Allah Ta'ala cure us of all of these diseases. in this month, and let us forevermore be people of purity through striving upon the way of his beloved Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam. And may he remove Baghi from us verbally and from actions, and remove love of status from our hearts. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.